Okay, we are live, I think. Hey, there's
Hello.
Keisha.
Hi,
Hello.
Keisha.
Oh, Donna says hi. Okay, so for Tidbits and Scribbles tonight, I kind of thought I'd go with what I did for morning motivation, and that was we'd talk about mindset. Because
Yeah.
I catch myself doing it. I'm not perfect. Sometimes you wake up and Mondays suck. But if you flip your mindset, I don't know. It sounds cheesy or cliche, but it's like it really does work. It's all about mindset, and like you can either be like, I don't want to get out of bed today. I don't feel like it. Let me lay here another 15 minutes, and then you're already off to a bad start.
Exactly. You've done it to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then with being a creative, a lot of us don't have a boss to say, you need to be at the office by 9 o'clock. You need to get this done by 10 o'clock. You have to be your own boss, and you have to be that motivator. You have to be your own self-motivator, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a very nice boss that lets me have days off.
What's it like?
She's terrific, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
My boss only says, aren't you working, or did you get any work done today? He doesn't really care. He just asks.
Well, that's nice. He cares enough to ask. That's
right.
Good. I mean,
it doesn't motivate you to get anything done.
Well, and if you need that motivation from outside, though, see, that could be a problem as well.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, your friends do motivate you. And that's why, to me, Monday is a good day. I'm like, oh, good, it's Monday. Because, first, Brian has a show, and then we talk about being creative, and I have something to do during that show, which is chase down the Russian porn bots and smash them, So it gives me something.
Right now,
Yeah, well, and they were today for some reason.
They're busy. They're busy.
Attacking everybody else.
That's right.
But those kind of things motivate me on a Monday to say, okay, now my creative friends are going to be on there, and they're all going to be hyped up, and I've got to be kind of hyped up, and I better get myself caffeinated enough to get some work done here with them. And
Keisha's cheating on the meeting. Way to go, Keisha.
Good job. Good job. We're having a big meeting over
That's called multitasking, not cheating.
Yes. Over on another network, they're having a meeting to discuss changing the name of the network.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a good thing, in my opinion, for them. But also, it's going to be a very difficult thing, because once you've got your branding and you've got people used to coming, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to change Rising Tide to, Wacky Waves. It's not going to work, because people are still looking up the old name, and they're like,
I thought it was only going to be for certain shows.
Well, that might work.
Well, yeah. Of course, it's easy for us to make judgments on that. We're not part of that network. Well, so I've got So for the next 20 minutes, I'll be telling John how to run his network.
Okay. That sounds good.
So I have no authority whatsoever there.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah. Turned out it wasn't my Wi-Fi; it was BritBox.
Oh,
okay.
Her subscription service is messing up, so they do that a little bit.
Well, either way, we're glad to have you. We were just talking about flipping your mindset, because, like I said on my morning motivation, Mondays can either suck or they can be a really good day.
Or they can suck and you do it anyway.
Yeah, and you just put your big kid pants on and do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to have to relate. Mondays are just another day for me. 38 years on swing shift. I can't tell what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I'm not on swing shift anymore.
Yay.
Well, and that's what we were talking about with being a creative. Sometimes you don't have to leave your house. So it might be Tuesday, it might be Friday. We don't know.
Okay. When nothing else has to be done that's going to drag me away from being able to open up the word processor, that's a good day.
It is. And I was going over my calendar a little bit ago, and tomorrow is a busy day outside the home. So I won't get to my office until evening. When and if I have the energy, I might get some more words down. But it's one of those, I used to be very hard on myself about, okay, you didn't get any words written today. You must not be an author. You must not be a real writer because you didn't get any words down.
That's imposter syndrome sneaking up.
It is. But it's also that's I don't want to say self-guilt, self-doubt.
Yeah.
Or that I'm not at the top level yet, and I'm not. But if I want to get there, I'll just keep improving. And so tomorrow, just like with my diet, tomorrow's another day. And if I do better tomorrow than I did today, I'm improving.
Exactly. Yeah, I've heard it said that if you just improve yourself 1% every day, just do something a little bit better than you did the day before, eventually it becomes a habit. So
yes.
Yeah. And sometimes some of the writers that we know and admire perhaps have only written one or two things in their whole lives, but they were great works. They really took the time to do those works correctly and do them right. And we wish they had written more because they did such a good job on those things.
Yep.
But it was not a quantity, it was a quality.
And it was a different time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cordwainer Smith, which is a pen name for a fellow whose name I cannot remember right now. He had 2 novels and 2 short story collections in his entire lifetime of his fiction writing. But he had this vastly colorful life outside of his writing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That people were going, oh, well, we wish we had more of this. Well, you don't. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I admire. I'm sorry.
I was going to say nowadays, prolific writers that you hear about in the mainstream, they have 40, 50, 60 books out.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear about them when they had 4 or 5 books out. They had to get to that number for the mainstream to know about them.
Right.
Excuse me just a second.
He's getting mauled.
But
there's James Patterson. I was talking with Nick Tucker today about James Patterson.
Yes.
He's got he comes out with 40 books every other minute.
Yeah.
Of course, then again, he's got an army of ghost writers and assistants who do a lot of that for him. And I don't know. I'm too proprietary over my own IPs to do that quite yet. To just say, here's a plot, you finish it.
Yeah, and I don't ever plot the whole story. I might have an idea. I might have a scene.
Yeah.
I can't use a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
I just saw from my email from Barnes and Noble today that they were going to have a seminar about some of the newer books coming out, and James Patterson has teamed up with Dolly Parton to write a book.
Oh Lord!
I saw this.
Guess who's going to be doing all the work? I'm sorry, Dolly.
Yeah. I was mentioning to Nick that wasn't about 2 or 3 years ago. James Patterson wrote a book with former President Bill Clinton, and I'm like, nobody wrote it. Nobody sat down and put the words together. I just don't know how this book got assembled. Because Slick Willie isn't going to be sitting down at the typewriter and pounding the keys anytime soon. So.
Ghostwriters all the way.
This is one of those cases of an infinite number of monkeys with
go.
an infinite number of typewriters.
Well,
eventually coming out with something that ain't Shakespeare at all.
And that makes me think of Bill Shatner.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Yes, his first works, he refused to let anybody edit that first book he wrote. And it was the worst of the entire series. After that,
Ron Goulart was writing them.
The Tech War thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Tech War.
Yeah, and others were much better because they were edited and he had a helper. And
I was going to say, but he could go back and revise that first one.
Have you heard of Bill Shatner and his ego?
From what I have read from Ron,
If I'm thinking of
Bill
the same person,
Shatner's
yeah.
involvement in that was going, hey, let's do another one. And then Ron went off and wrote the book, and Bill signed his name on the checks. That's
Ron
it.
Goulart didn't need anyone's help. That's
Oh,
for sure.
Lord, no. I've got a shelf of books of his under his own name.
Oh, yeah.
About 3 feet wide. And they're skinny little 200-page paperbacks.
Sure. But, if Captain Kirk comes and says, I have this series of books, I want you to write them, and here's some money. Yeah. Wouldn't you be tempted? I would.
Many, many people would be tempted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that, if you weren't already known like this gentleman, then, this would be a springboard for you to meet that audience of Star Trek lovers and
it's
get
just,
in there.
It's just another audience when you're at Goulart's level. I mean, he wrote all kinds of things under all kinds of names.
Oh, yeah.
And see, that's another thing that I've seen some authors do. Depending on what they write, it depends on the name they use.
Victoria Holt was like that.
Yeah.
Well, our own Molly Daniels is like that.
Right.
Mark Ellis wrote most of the Deathlands novels, or at least he wrote about 40 or 50 of them under the James Axler house name.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And he's going, hey, the ones I wrote are the ones people want to find in the used bookstores,
Yeah.
And the ones the other folks in the family wrote, not so much.
Yeah.
That's true.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there writing things that are, well, it's no different from the pulp days when you had 5 people writing the Doc Savage series.
Yeah, I was going to say.
One of whom invented it and set out the outline and the pattern. And the rest of them did their best to stick within the pattern. But you can actually tell when you pick up one that wasn't by Lester Dent.
Or the Nancy Drew series.
Yeah,
or Hardy Boys.
Hardy Boys, Tom Swift Sr. and Jr. Oh man, did you ever catch hold of any of the 1970s, late 1970s, early 1980s revamp of Tom Swift, where somebody obviously had never read the other series that came out. It was awful. It was awful.
Especially because you got his fans. Oh, yeah, I bet that ruffled some feathers.
I'll tell you one that's even worse. They pulled him into an episode of the Nancy Drew thing on the CW.
Oh, wow.
It was nothing at all like the Tom Swift books, except the guy could invent things.
Yeah.
Not the same race, not the same gender preference.
Well, I was going to say when everyone in my high school was reading, or in grade school, I guess it was reading the Nancy Drew books. I remember my cousin was reading them, and I took one look at him and went, "That's boring." I was reading stuff grade levels above where I was supposed to be reading. In fact, it was so bad that when I took a book to school, I had to wrap it in paper so no one could see what I was reading.
And I have the entire collection of Nancy Drew stories.
Yeah.
Nice.
If you are a fan, it doesn't matter. They will.
Yeah.
I've got all the Tom Swift Jr. books, and I had a collection that my first wife, I think I had like 15 or 20 out of them, and my first wife burglarized my house after we divorced, and those went by the by. I went on eBay and bought every single one of them, including the 33rd one, which is the absolute worst of the series.
That's love.
But it completed the set.
Yeah,
Completed
exactly.
the set, yes, and I did actually sit down and read it, knowing it was going to suck when I picked it up and opened the cover. I had known that it was not going to be good. But then there are people that can slide seamlessly into a shared series like that, a house name. And they do such a great job. I'm thinking that they do an awful lot of research in order to get that voice down and to get the
oh heck
the
yeah,
details down, do the fan service, doing callbacks,
yeah,
stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's like writing historical. You know,
Yeah.
it's fantasy, but it's still historical.
Yeah,
There's
you
a
got
lot
to pay
you gotta
attention to the
figure out.
details.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
because there will be somebody that will catch you. You know, say, well, that historical detail is not accurate. Well, if I didn't pin down a time frame, dum dum.
Yeah, and right now research is so easy to do.
Oh heck yeah.
Well, with Google, it's like I had a debate with
Yeah.
somebody a few days ago. It's like, why should I research it? I told them, said, because somebody who will know that subject will call you out on it.
Exactly.
I tell people I'm a former mortician's assistant, and it annoys me to no end when they show a graveyard, the grave. They have the ceremony, everyone's walking away, and even before the last person leaves, the caretaker is up there throwing dirt directly on the casket.
Yeah.
And in most cases, that doesn't happen. They're going to wait till everyone's gone. They get the A-OK from the funeral director, and they're not going to throw that dirt on the casket, not because they need to preserve the contents of that casket. It's strictly an insurance thing nowadays. It's because the ground may settle and somebody could trip over that.
Right.
Yeah. So, when I see that as a former mortician, it pulls me right out of the story and tells me that writer did not do their homework. So,
I went to a writer's workshop one time where a pair of sisters-in-law who write under the name of Lynn Leslie or Leslie Lynn. They switch it back and forth. And they said, you need to have every detail correct, because they have this one book in which they had a heart transplant going on. And the printer or somebody screwed up and got the heart medication wrong.
And naturally, somebody caught it.
Misspelled a word with like 30 letters in it. And they're like, we're not going to go back. It only occurs once in the book. Not going to go back and fix it. Nobody's going to notice.
Right.
They got nailed.
Bunches of people noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, how many mystery books have you seen? How many TV shows have you seen where somebody puts a silencer on a revolver?
Yes. Yes.
This defies the laws of physics in so many ways.
Or they have a shotgun that takes out an airplane.
We like to comment on the John Wayne guns in every movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how many shots you fire, you've still got at least one left.
Yes. Yes. So that's what we've always called John Wayne guns. We'll listen, and we're like, no, he didn't have an extra magazine in there.
No.
So he only had 9 shots. If that was technically a 9mm, there's only so many you can fit in there, and then one in the chamber. Okay, that would make 9. And he shot 12 times. How did he do that?
Yeah.
So, and it is like that with me with archery. If I see, and all it's got to be is an image on a book, but if her fingers are curled all the way around that string, all 4 fingers,
Yeah.
right there, I'm like, you didn't do your research. I mean, I know images are hard because when it comes to historical accuracy in images, we are really struggling with some historical images that we need for the Westerns that Linda writes. We're trying to get the right time period, and things like a button, the wrong kind of button, will make readers bonkers.
Oh, talk to somebody in the SCA about thread count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a friend that always was saying, that's not a period belt that guy is wearing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Are you reading this story to escape or for fun?
Mhm.
Now, if I'm writing a historically accurate documentary, okay, the image on the book should reflect historical accuracy.
Sure.
Agreed.
I'm writing a romance novel. Like, let it go. But
Yeah.
no, those readings will get you every single time.
It's very difficult for people to let it go. It's like someone was writing a book that involved different restaurants in Chicago,
Mm.
and they were saying something about, okay, it took them 10 minutes to get from this restaurant to this other restaurant, and someone was like, no, there's no way you can make it,
Oh,
in downtown Chicago from one part to the other. I even knew better than that.
you can't go next door.
I mean, yeah. So it's like,
You
no,
got to be held up
you
3
lost
times before you get out of the restaurant.
Yeah, these days.
it. For sure. Try to find a taxi in downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
It's
Or
No.
something like they found a taxi or called a taxi and they're in a small town.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but there's no taxis out here.
No,
Yeah.
not before the Uber and whatnot.
Right.
No, you did
Yeah,
not. You
we're-
did not get any kind of a taxi.
And an Uber out here is expensive, so you better be willing to
yeah.
pay.
Well,
And sorry, Michaela, but even in like soap operas, it used to bother me that nobody actually did any work. And none of the doctors or
jobs.
lawyers or anybody, they all had jobs. They all had a title at least. But
Mhm.
did anybody ever do any work? No. They were too busy talking about how Monica got knocked up by this other guy. And then everybody, was telling that story. I'm like, don't you have people have things to do to earn money? No,
Yeah.
no, not really.
No, we're all independently wealthy.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And a lot of times you'll find that with romance novels.
Mhm.
The guy is independently wealthy. He earned his money from like he inherited it or stocks and bonds or whatever,
Right.
but he doesn't really
Yeah.
have a job and he can spend all of his time doting on the female. Like, but can he really?
No, not really. In the real world.
Not really. In the real world, some of those females were doting on, as I recall.
Sometimes. It's all about mindset, remember?
That's right. That's right.
Now, here's one that throws its own head. There was one black and white Western where an actor came in with a period accurate mustache that looked like something straight out of a cartoon.
Mm.
And the audience laughed him off the screen, even though it was period accurate.
Mm.
They did not know that
I
and
understand.
did not care.
Okay, interesting.
Talk about writing
It
for
did
your
not-
audience.
It did not fit their preconceptions, so they did not like it.
Well, that's like we mentioned earlier, like some of the paperbacks from the 70s. One of my favorites was a Western called Edge. And it was written by like 2 or 3 guys out of England, and the only research they had done was see a couple of Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns.
Oh,
Even
Hey,
I knew those things were inaccurate, but they were
Yeah.
well
not even
written.
the good ones.
They were funny. You know?
Well, they're supposed to be. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's another area where mindset
Giant guy's
matters.
wet dream of the Wild West.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's another area where mindset may need to be changed, Michaela, because you think, oh, I got to do all this research because these people are going to demand it. But maybe you could enjoy some of the research because you'll learn too,
Oh, yeah.
and it helps you along. And if you do get those things correct, and someone says, "Great job on that thing. I really liked how you got that right."
Yeah.
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 And you
and
sound so
if
smart when you
write in a
do.
certain- Oh,
Mhm.
sorry, Brian.
Well, I was going to say that I one time I was working on a game supplement,
Hmm.
and it hinged. Part of the plot hinged on who ran the German, Spanish, and Italian embassies during World War II.
Ooh.
And this is a pre-internet age, and so I spent 4 hours in the library skimming books before I finally found the answer. And I got high marks from, I didn't sell it, but the people who were considering it, I got high marks from them, because I looked into that thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and for me, when I'm reading a book, if there's a detail that I know is wrong, it pulls me out of the story is the other thing. It's not so much I'm going to ream the author on you got that wrong.
Right.
It pulls you out of the story because you're like, oh crap, I know it's not that way.
Yeah, it
At
ruins
least an
your
example
immersion.
is I've been reading R.J. Gray. She writes military. And I thought, well, military is not really my thing, but she's my friend and she's got this thing out, so I'll read it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
She writes military and BDSM. And I thought, oh no.
There's two subjects you better get right.
Yeah.
Get it wrong. Because ever since 50 Shades of Grey, lots and lots of authors think that they can just skim over the details.
Sure.
And it works. It doesn't work. When you're in a relationship
I'm sorry, Michaela, but I'm not doing the research for you on either of those.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Michaela.
Okay. But it was so nice to actually read a book that I didn't have to, not second guess it, but it didn't pull me out because the book was accurate. Every
good.
situation that the two characters interacted was correct. And it was how they would act in real life. And it's like, yay! Finally, somebody gets it! It's even like with archery. If somebody's writing about, a historical event or whatever, or even a modern event and it includes archery, I know my archery. So if they get it right, oh my God, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a story with dragons and such, and they throw a detail in that I hadn't thought of before, it's dragons. They're fantasy. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
I had one where I had to actually look up when wristwatches first came into fashion, and it wound up in a story that Donna has just read.
Oh, awesome!
And it set the entire year that the story took place in.
That's
I had to have the wristwatch, so that set exactly when it went. It turned out to be like 1925. So.
Yeah, well, that's like my Dragons and Wizards. It was originally supposed to be a collaboration between myself and a young gentleman who did a lot of D&D. I knew nothing about this world. I was supposed to take care of the romance side, the adventure side, that side of it, and he was going to take care of the dragon fights. And then all of a sudden, he disappears off the edge of the world. And it sat, and it's like there was enough written that I'm like, this is a really, really good story. But I can't finish it because I don't know anything about dragons. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, what difference does it make? It's fantasy. It's your story. And I'm like, okay. And I ended up breaking 2 very good rules. But I think it ended up great.
Well, I was going to say, who wrote the rules?
Right, exactly. The rules.
All the people who played Dungeons and Dragons.
Well,
and that women are witches, they can't be wizards, but
that's
to
crap.
quote Doctor Who, never tell me the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no, go ahead. Tell me the rules. Then watch my ass break them.
Yeah.
For a very good reason, but I will break them when I need to.
Well, and that was the thing that I was talking to my critique partner. I said, does a button really matter? And she says, it does when you're writing historical fiction. Even though it's fiction, you want it set in a certain time period. So a button matters. If it's a snap, they didn't invent snaps until whatever day. Well, if your story is before that, not historically accurate. I'm like, but it's a cover. It's not the book, it's a cover.
Right. That must have been very hard for those authors when they did not have control of covers. If
Oh.
some publisher says, "Oh, we've already got the cover picked out," and you're like, "Okay,"
They still
and
do that to this day.
and
Yeah.
they do.
and people will poo-poo that book based on the inaccurate cover, but it's not the author's fault.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
as
3 more
self-publishers, we have to be a little more careful, I guess.
Yeah, I knew another writer, and this was back before they used images. They had to use artists. The hero had a full beard. She had to go back and take out all reference of that beard because at that time you could not portray a beard on a cover because it didn't come off well.
Right. Well, and that was,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was
But
going to say,
in
I've
those
seen-
days, you didn't see the beards on the covers because they couldn't draw them correctly or something. I don't know what the problem was.
It never looked right. But she had to go back and change a good deal of her story.
I don't remember which author it was, but I was reading a book and the front forward said, "I apologize if smoking offends you, but back in the day, it was commonplace. And when I wrote this story, it was commonplace and it was socially accepted. Now, if that offends you, read no further." And I thought, really? For smoking?
Mm-hmm.
You have to put a disclaimer in your book?
That's
But again, she was published by a publisher. So
Yeah.
perhaps the publisher said, let's put this
Hey,
in
you're
here so we don't offend anybody.
Let's put this in here so we don't get any bullshit from anti-smoking groups.
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like she had little kids smoking or pregnant women smoking. It was cowboys. It was like,
Or pregnant
this is
little
what
kids.
cowboys did.
Oh, that's a whole nother level we won't want to go to.
Yeah.
Ah,
Even I'm backing away from that one.
uh,
Now I'm tempted to write one, Judge.
I've never seen this man before in my life. Ever.
Hey,
Oh, good
but-
Lord.
Now you see why the main narrator of my Spaceport Bar Stories is a scorpion with a British accent the size of a Clydesdale.
Yeah.
Not the accent, the scorpion.
but I can see about the smoking as they're trying to make sure they don't offend anybody. Okay.
Make it socially
And-
acceptable.
And if I worried about that, I would. We were talking before this. If I were worried about that, I would have never written the Mad Gasser Cheerleader,
Oh, yeah.
because that is sure to offend someone somewhere along the line. I know it. And there have been people I have said, "Don't buy this book; it's not for you."
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
It's
heck, I
not-
have younger females, young ladies, let me put it that way, walk by like 12, 13 years old, and they're like, "Ooh, I like your books," and like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No. But as soon as your parent finds out that I sold that to you, I'm in trouble.
Mhm.
No, come
Right.
back
Yeah.
to me when you're 18 and we'll talk.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just books and book covers. I did an interview once where every time I took a drink or lit a cigarette, it got edited out of the interview.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
I can see that.
People get a little touchy on things that they probably, as an adult, they should be able to overlook. But sadly, not all adults are adult.
Yeah,
anymore.
I'll
well,
just say that.
my opinion is if you're going to run into me at a convention, you're either going to find me in the bar
Yeah.
or in the smoking area.
Yeah,
You know, that's where I
exactly.
spend a lot of my time because that's where the best conversations are.
Mm-hmm.
Usually.
Until
Mhm.
everybody's sloshed and you just have a conversation on whatever wall that catches you as you're trying to fall down.
Or whatever
Oh,
beautiful girl will walk you back to your room if you're lucky.
Oh, thank you, Michaela.
Alacon 2022.
There you go.
Just saying.
going to hell on the short bus.
promise I did not make any
That you know of or remember.
suggestions. Hmm. Did I remember? No, I remember everything.
So I'm saying 2022. Is this
Mostly regret. Yes.
You had your chance.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Damn it, why am I such a gentleman?
You had
But-
a
but
couple
I-
of chances.
But I think a lot of times, like people were in the past, like if you didn't like the way Hemingway smoked and drank and things, you didn't read Hemingway's work because you kind of knew that was going to be in there.
Right.
And so you just avoided that if that bothered you. And I think that sometimes people just are not able to make the right choices these days. They'll buy something, read something, and then they'll complain about some little sniggly thing they found in there that
Mhm.
doesn't fit their worldview or whatever. And sorry, but that is the world for adults. And sometimes there are things you don't particularly care about.
It's
Skunk?
It's skunk.
Hi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got a detective series a private detective series that I started back in the mid '90s, and one of the tricks that I put was every time, no matter how long it took me typing it, every time I lit a cigarette, so did the main character.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I had complaints from that. It's like, this guy is going to die before he's 35.
Not
Yeah,
yet, damn it.
it'll probably be because some gangster had him bumped off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Won't be the
Even
cigarette.
before, it was modern day,
Mm-hmm.
I think
That was just one of the conceits that I did.
Yeah.
I've been talking to some other authors about the whole complaint thing, and people will find the smallest things to complain about with books. It's almost like, well, everyone is giving this book or this film or whatever high marks. I'll get noticed if I don't. I'll get noticed if I bash this book or this movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they get attention.
Yeah.
Had somebody go through and
Sometimes, because then,
do a count of all the cuss words.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah.
And you've
And if
got
you took the
97
time-
incidences of this word in this chapter alone. I'm going, yeah, but the girl was going through a nervous breakdown at the time. Cut her
Right,
some
they
slack.
take it out of context.
Yeah.
Well, Amy Hale tells a great story about her first book, and she used the word crap in it, and some reader lost her freaking mind over it and left a review saying, this is a terrible, 1-star review, this is a terrible book. This woman used the word crap, and Amy was like, that is the nicest obscenity I used in there. I've got a plethora of worse words.
Yeah, it's a good.
It
good
adequately describes your review, too.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is I was talking to a reviewer
Mhm.
who is a close person to me. And I said, don't forget to leave a review for that book. And she says, I really didn't like it. I don't want to leave the review. And I said, it doesn't matter. It'll help the author. And she goes, why would I want to do that if I don't like the book?
Okay. That's a point.
Oh, good point. And
That's a
if
point.
you
Yeah.
have built a relationship online with your readers and they don't like you, or so then you've tried to build that relationship and what they know of you they don't like, no, I don't think I'd leave a review either. That's a good point.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think some people, though, like you say, they want to be negative because it gets attention for them on this. And this, sadly, this day of YouTube, when everybody might have a channel and they say, hey, I'm going to make my thing by being the guy that
Negative.
doesn't like
Yeah,
what everybody else likes, and they'll go off and do that. But I think people realize that. Like I was looking
A lot
at,
of them do.
I was looking at a restaurant review that I had done, and the people said, "Oh, thank you very much for this review, and we're glad you enjoyed the restaurant." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I looked at other people's reviews, and there was a guy underneath mine that had pretty well bashed that restaurant. He was the only one, and I thought, okay. And this was on Google, so I was able to look at his other Google reviews.
Oh boy.
Almost all of them were bad reviews of every place. This person is a miserable person. Their life is miserable. I would not want to be hanging around this person as a
Yeah.
friend. And I think anybody who reads one of those is going to be able to say, well, this guy's a total jerk,
Right. But that one review, you can't tell that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
If it's your only review and it's bad, that's
Right.
not.
That's true.
Yeah.
I had one fellow leave me. He said, "I'm going to subtract 1 star because the cover art is computer generated rather than a painting."
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember this.
Yeah.
And
Can't
he
win
was
'em.
a friend of mine too. He
But
is
but
a friend of mine still.
But I think people see through that.
You would think if they read that, because it's just like the review that says this book has too much sex and too much foul language. There's readers out there that'll be like, "Give me that book. I want that."
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's guaranteed to make sales right there.
Right,
Oh, well.
right. So
Please
there's
Parental
ban-
advisory
that
on
faction
it.
of people looking for that.
Please ban my book, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We've had stuff with adult content come through the magazine over the years, and I go, okay, is it a good story?
Mhm.
Other than that, is it a good story? And the editors go, yeah, but I really feel uncomfortable. I go, put an adult warning flag on it. That means every 13-year-old that's in the world will read this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
That's true.
I was really careful in one of my books because it is a humorous science fiction story, which will see the light of day someday. But the gentleman was near this one lady, and she was like rubbing up against him and all this sort of stuff. And he said, suddenly I felt my suit get tight in the front. You know what that means,
Right.
but I didn't say it out, for everybody. But I thought,
All of a sudden, my clothes got too small.
but
I should have walked in the rain.
the interested reader will figure it out and go, okay, I see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Everybody else would go, yeah, okay, whatever, and pass that right on by.
Well, there's a scene in Woodstock Dreams that I kind of had to fight for. The third author who wrote the book with this very nice lady, very sweet lady, raised Catholic. The scene is the alarm's accidentally gone off. Bad guy comes in and he's ripping the lady who forgot to turn the alarm off a new one, and about every second sentence got the word fucking in it. And she says, I think you're using that too much. And I'm like, no, honey, trust me. I've known men like this.
Yep.
This is what he's going to say.
It's called industrial language, and I have a black belt in it.
Is that what it's called?
And
I feel targeted.
And I defended Donna's take on that, not just because of that's the kind of language this kind of guy would use, but it helped point out the kind of guy he was.
Yes.
He was playing a nice guy, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once he's picking on this poor girl and using this kind of language, it shows you just what kind of a person he really was underneath.
Yeah.
It was really
that was important to the story.
Yeah.
a pivotal point in the story, because the three heroes discover shit because of the way he reacted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It caused a suspicion. It caused more investigation. It caused ill feelings, and that was important to the story to move it to the next portion.
I was just going to say, as long as it moves the story forward, it is warranted.
Exactly.
Now, is anybody working on anything that they're struggling with?
After 2 days of stomach flu, we're struggling with everything here.
I am I'm in that nervous waiting mode right now.
Oh, you just finished the project,
right.
didn't
I
you?
finished
Yeah.
it.
I
Oh,
finished the audiobook for Cindy
Yeah.
Cab for Animal Eye, and I'm just sitting here being like, God, I hope she likes it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she will.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Cindy's awesome.
I
Yeah,
don't
she
know.
is.
That's
And-
the thing.
and that
The
comes
thing
with
about
the
it is
territory, too,
like
of-
that took so long to do. I learned a lot about doing audiobooks. For one, I do not have the time.
It takes a long time.
It's
I had to get a month. I had to get an additional month extension to be able to get the project done because it took that long.
Yeah.
Like life just kept getting in the way. There were multiple days where I'd come home and I would attempt to record and just couldn't. There would be days there would be weeks I would come home and I didn't have time just because of life. There was a couple of moments where I'd come home, I was too sick to record. Otherwise, all the dialogue would have sounded like this. Which I mean, it would have worked for some characters, but not others,
there are a few characters that would work for.
Yeah.
But
Now, how many words or chapters was the book?
It's 38 chapters.
Wow.
I can't remember how many words. I remember, here's what I do remember. I looked up the average length of an audiobook for the amount of words that she gave me. She told me it's this many words. I looked that length up and it was like 18 hours. I was like, oh, that's easy. I can knock out 18 hours in like 2 weekends. No, that's not how it works at all. Because guess what you have?
Right.
Here's something I learned about audiobooks and about recording audiobooks. All right. If let's say that you read a sentence, right, and you're reading a sentence in your head, and I'll just use this webpage I was looking at earlier before I joined y'all as an example. This is just describing an apartment in Chattanooga. It says, now scheduling tours and featuring all new interiors. Connect to the city and make your move to Ivy Terrace. Our modern and newly constructed apartments for rent in the Red Bank neighborhood of Chattanooga, Tennessee allow you the best of both worlds. Right? I just read that out perfectly. But when you've been reading for like, you know, and like nonstop, and trying to get across like the, you know, the gravitas of the situation and stuff like that, you'll be reading that and you'll be like, now scheduling towers. Wait, okay, crap. All right, go back, delete that. Now scheduling towers. Now scheduling tours. No, that's the wrong inflection. Now I re-record every single sentence over.
It can take you 45 minutes to get a whole sentence.
I was going to say that's
seriously
45 minutes. It would take me 45 minutes to record 2 seconds of audio. That's how it is. So like the first, like literally until I got, because I'll tell you this is what happened before I figured out the whole re-record process. Here's how I did the first. It was like first 3 chapters was record it all at once. And if I messed up, just be like, okay, I'll just go back and fix that later. Try it again and try it again and try it again. I'd have 3-4 hours of audio for 1 chapter that I then had to sit through and look for all the parts where I screwed up. And I was like, I finally figured out around chapter like 5 or something to just do all of the re-records and so it would take me like 1 or 2 nights to get a chapter done sometimes. By the time, I'll tell you this, by the time I got to the end of the book, I was knocking chapters out a night. Like I was getting done. But oh man, starting out at first, it was rough.
I understand that. I understand that. We recorded my audiobook. I'm sitting on the tapes for Sandestein. It took us an actor friend of mine came over to my house. And we recorded for about 4 hours once a week because that was how our schedules meshed up. And it took us almost 3 months.
And Sandestein, if I recall correctly, that's not as long of a book as Animal Eye.
Oh no! Animal Eye is like 700 pages, and Sandestein's like 180, and that's because it's in 12-point type.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of books are like 10 or 11.
Oh, and let me tell y'all something. This is another thing about this. I didn't realize this when I first started doing this. I did not realize this at all. So the ebook reader that I was using is called Ice Cream, right?
Okay.
I've never used it before. And I didn't know its intricacies. I didn't know how it worked. I don't really deal with ebooks. If I'm going to read something, I'm either going to read it on a web page or in a text document. Or if it's a book, I'd like to have the physical copy of the book. That's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I haven't joined the Star Trek digital age yet. I'd like to have physical books so I can sit there and skim with my finger and all right, let's see if I understand it correctly and stuff. Just the warmth of being able to turn the page and stuff. So I like having a physical book. Right. I'm not opposed to ebooks. I don't think they're bad, but I've never used an ebook reader before. And let me tell y'all something. There was, I thought I'm almost done with this book. I cannot wait to be finished with this. It was getting near the end of January. We're about to go into February. And I'm like, I at that point, I was doing like a chapter a night. And then like sometimes I'd be like, I have a night where I couldn't, Right. And I was getting near the end of the month, and I thought I was going to be able to just, all right, I'm done. I'm going to get to the last page here in just a moment. And then I get to that last page and I'm looking and I'm like, wait a minute, the story's not done yet. And then I see the page number go from 249 to 250. And it says there's only 249 pages. And I went, oh no. Oh no. Oh no, the book's actually longer than it's. Oh, it's saying that it is.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? It's crazy, right? It ended up being like, according to the program, the book ended up being something like 170%. It's like you don't just get one book, you get 70% of another book for free. So that was I had to send the first email to Cindy and be all like, I'm not gonna have this done in time.
Yeah.
I thought I had more. I didn't realize the book was going to be longer than this. Of course, because of what the program said.
Dear Cindy, please stop taking writing lessons from David Weber.
No, it was fine because I'll tell you this: if the book had ended at that moment, I would have been so mad.
Yeah. Now, Skunk, were you reading those into a digital recorder or do you do tape?
It was a digital recorder, yeah.
Good.
Which is slightly annoying because I do have two monitors, but while I was going through this project, I wasn't using the second monitor at all. So I have the book in one window, I have the recorder in the other window, and I kept having to switch back and forth.
Oh no!
If I had to re-record, I had to switch back over to that, and then I would lose my place. And that's why the difference between the two recording styles. One, I just keep recording and just I go back and fix that later, and just re-record that line. Okay, now it's perfect. Let's move on to the next line. Re-record that line until it's perfect, and then go through and edit out the stuff. Took longer. But honestly, except for the actual editing process, was less frustrating than when I was sitting there going,
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Let me switch back over to where was I?
Yeah.
Where was that third? Okay, now let me start recording. No, wait, I lost it again.
Yeah.
Well, and that's as writers.
I tried to get like 3 or 4 words ahead. All right. All right. So she turned and looked at the door. Okay, all right. She turned and looked at the. Where's that word? I kept doing that.
I did one where I wound up. I just recorded all of one character's dialogue in just single sentences, and I put everything into it. Then I did the next character in single sentences. Then I spliced it all together, which was a painstaking way to do it.
Yeah.
But it turned out a whole lot better than me trying to read and switch voices in between.
Okay.
I didn't have a problem with
Thank God it was a very short piece.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that at all. With the switching voices on the fly, whenever I saw a character was saying something, here was my problem. When you have a character that appears near the beginning of the book and also appears near the end of the book, and I had to go, what voice did I use for that character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I go back and look that up.
That
Go
character
like-
was not in the middle.
Animal
Where's that voice?
That literally
Yeah.
happens in Animal Life. This character at the
Yeah.
very beginning of the story who doesn't reappear until the very end of the story, and I had to go, what voice did I use for her?
Yeah.
Crap.
Mhm.
Now I have to
Yeah.
go back because I could
Yeah.
not remember. Oh,
I
This is
had problems similar to that because I did a special project where I was reading onto tape. This was back in the day.
yeah.
For a student who is visually impaired. Okay, this was back when I was in high school, and so I would read at 1 hour a day in the library. So I was allowed to go into the librarian's office and read into this tape recorder, and you would be like, okay, now what voice did I use yesterday for that person? Because I'm not going to get it exactly the same every day.
yeah.
And there was no way to go back and listen to it. So it became a mental exercise in my head of imitating people I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a fairly good mimic in those days. So I could imitate people I knew reading those voices out. And that's the only way I was able to keep track of who was speaking when.
Yeah. And I
I'm
was going to
sorry,
say,
Sheila.
this is really good info for someone thinking about doing audiobooks
Mhm.
or someone having an audiobook done and wondering why it takes so long. Because
Yeah.
as an author,
Yeah.
I have no idea on this stuff. Like, I don't know how long it takes, and I don't know that I could splice together stuff and make no. I can write a story. I can write it really well. After that, it's your problem.
And I'll tell you
Yeah.
guys what, if I had unlimited free time,
Mhm.
like if I didn't have a day job, if I didn't have to worry about like showering, if I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff that you have to do
Meals.
on a daily basis,
Sleeping.
if I didn't sleep, using the restroom, eating.
Mhm.
No, I probably could have knocked the entire recording process out like a month.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did not have that.
Right.
And that was the biggest unfortunate part. Like, I'll tell you what, when I got off work today and got home, literally the first thing I did, I crawled into bed. As soon as I got off work, I was like, I don't have to try to stay up and work on this project anymore. I'm going to sleep. That was the nicest sleep I've had in a while. Because and I hope Cindy isn't watching this and getting offended because
No.
No, I doubt it.
or at least not offended, but like I hope she doesn't feel bad if she ever sees this.
Brian's already sent her an email coming.
It wasn't.
I will do that. I'll smooth things over. Don't worry.
It was like 'cause I would come home and I would attempt, even if I couldn't, on the days where I couldn't record, I would at least attempt. And I would be like, I would get home, I would stay up, I would try to record something. I'd be up for like 2 hours. I would take a 1 hour nap. I'd get back up. I'd try to record again. Right. And then there would be days I would go to try to do that 1 hour nap. Right. And I'd wake up and it'd be 3 o'clock in the morning and I'd have to go to work and I'd be like, oh no. And I would be so stressed out at that point.
I did that with
I'm so and the thing is, like, again, she at this point could say, hey, here's the things that I want you to change, or no, I hate it completely. I don't think she's gonna say that. I hope she doesn't say that.
She won't.
But she could say, here's the things I need you to change, here's the things I need you to go back. Cool. If it's just changing stuff, that's fine. If she's just like, hey, I could tell that, like, you hit your stride somewhere around chapter 10. So if you could re-record the first few chapters, cool, I'll do that. Yeah, let me do that. I'll re-record the first few chapters. I could get that done in like a month and not care about it. I might even be able to get it done in a week since I've now, I know the story.
Right, now you
That's
got
another thing. If you ever go to do an audiobook and it's not your own story, because the people here have done audiobooks, Dan and Brian, you guys recorded your own stories. You already knew what was going to happen. You already knew what the characters were.
That helps.
You knew what that was going on inside your head.
I knew what the character's supposed to sound like. Yeah.
If you've never done that before, and it's or rather, if you've done it before, but in this particular case, if it's a book you've never read, read the book first.
Yeah. Seriously,
At
You
least
know what you're
Yeah.
getting into.
that's good
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Because I had
read it
no
several
idea.
times if you get into, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
doing a
not
cold
that it would
read
be
is
a bad book, but rereading something for a project is different from reading for pleasure.
And it's
Mhm.
Right.
doing a cold
Yeah.
reading, and it's doing a cold reading and not for fun.
right.
You
Yeah.
know, that was
Yeah.
the one of the things that me and Michaela were talking about when I was talking about the book. I love the story, right?
Yeah,
Sitting
story.
there trying to read it and thinking like mechanically and not like not enjoying the story was
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to see the adventures of these characters, and instead I'm worried about like word choice, or not word choice, but like infliction and
Yeah.
oh god, what accent did they use for this character, and how is and worried about like conveying emotion. Like this should be a happy scene, this should be a sad scene, this should be an angry
Yeah.
scene. It's trying to do all of that instead of just.
Yeah.
I just wanted to enjoy the story.
You can't do that sort of thing with a cold read.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got
Very-
no idea what's coming up next. She
Yeah.
put what where?
And I will.
No, those are my books, Dan.
I will. I can actually.
I'll never look at a zucchini the same way again.
I can subscribe it actually to something Brian experienced that he told me about.
Yes.
Is as I'm sitting there, there were parts where I would stop recording to because I got that line done, but I flubbed this next line. I need to read ahead a few, and then I would start reading. Like I'd read and be like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be recording this. Why am I not saying anything?
Yes.
And I would go back. That happened multiple times where I had to go back and like delete all of this empty audio where I wasn't recording anything because I was reading ahead. Brian was telling me when he was reading my movie script that he kept going out of editor mode and just kept reading because he was interested in the story and he had to go back.
I was just going to say that you do the same thing with editing. If you're in the right mood or the right mind frame, when you start editing, you're like, okay, I'll check this and check that, and then you start. If it's good, you really start getting into it and reading it, and you're like, shit, I didn't edit any of that. I just read it.
Yeah. 20 pages later.
Right, but if you're used to editing and catching things, you will have caught some of the stuff.
Right.
But inevitably, there will be something there as an editor that you're like, oh, I got to take that out, or I got to mention that doesn't make sense, or whatever it is.
And you see now, I will purposely read a chapter, and I'll find the egregious, misspellings or something. But the first time I'm reading that chapter is to get an overall view of that chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go back and do the editing if it needs it, where, I'll be like, okay, what happened to this character? You mentioned them and then they're gone for the rest of the chapter. And I thought they were supposed to be important in there. No, I'm not speaking of you, Michaela. But I'll be like, this character.
I'll get paranoid.
Yeah, this character disappeared. And, it's important that a character's there. What happened to him? That's when I will edit is the second time through that chapter. So I end up reading a book twice to actually edit it.
Yeah.
And
that was the advice I was given for the audiobook too. Is like at least read the book before, at the very least.
It helps.
I would say read it independently before you even accept the contract. Read the book.
Yeah.
Right, just to make sure it's your sort of thing. Because I will say this about this, I had a few criticisms, but this is the biggest one with Animal Eye. I was not the target audience for this book. I'm definitely not the target audience for this book.
Well,
Anybody who knows me, Donna, Michaela, Brian, Dan, Carl, to an extent, you guys kind of know what interests me.
Yes.
Animal Eye is not it.
That's
it's
true.
still a good story, and that's one of the things that I will definitely say. It's still a
but
good
nobody
enjoyable
gets
time, and I
murdered.
would recommend it to anybody who wants a fun, family-friendly adventure.
Yeah.
Which is not me. I'm not the fun family adventure type. I am the R-rated
Can you guys
Grizzly
keep this rolling? I
grindhouse
gotta
type.
let the dog out. No one else is home.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
it might be in left field when you get back, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Can we
We can say
keep
we want
talking?
now.
Yeah.
We keep
All right,
talking.
everybody maintain silence for the next 25 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, we were supposed to be recording. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, damn, I slipped into edit mode.
Yeah. I had that problem with the book.
Wow,
that I
she
was
got back fast.
She
And the
knew
door is
who she
right
was
there.
leaving.
Yeah.
Literally, like the door is right there. Like Carl and Donna and Brian, I can tell you, the door is right there by my office to go outside.
Right.
And so this giant dog is at my door barking. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
And the daughters are going on a walk, and Andy is in bed. Like, there's nobody to let him out.
Yeah.
And I'm not
You let
cleaning
the
that
dog
pile
in.
up.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was my problem, Skunk, with the one I did for the visually impaired student. I did not get to read the book beforehand, and they didn't give me the chance. They just said, "You're pretty good at reading things," because I used to do the announcements for the school. So you'd read them through a few times, and I was good at reading ahead, so I could read ahead and know what I was going to say next.
Yeah.
So they just said, "You're good at that. Why don't you just read this cold and do it?" And I'm like, okay. So I know it was probably the worst audio book experience for that poor student. But it
Did
was
they even have audiobooks back then?
no, but it was just for this.
No,
I don't mean to say it that way, but
carved
like-
in granite, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but
actually, I will say this though. I mean, Michaela, there might have been audiobooks back then.
Well, that's
Right. What
I
I'm
think
saying
there
is,
was,
Like
'cause
400 cassettes.
yeah, they were on
yeah.
cassette.
Grandma had
Yeah.
like the Bible on cassette tape,
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So technically, yeah, they had
Yeah.
audiobooks, I
Yeah.
guess.
yeah. But
And they were recorded by people like me who just got handed this book and told,
There you go.
"Read this, you can do it."
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say that most of the audiobooks that I remember that I've seen from back then, right, were like you said, you had a literal book of cassettes. There'd be like
Yeah.
8 cassettes in there.
Oh yeah. Oh
The
yeah.
only I'll tell you this. Literally, before I recorded Animal Eye, I'd only listened to 2 audiobooks ever in my lifetime. Right?
Yeah.
One was an audio companion. That was or it was an audiobook, but it had to be done in audio form, basically, because it was all about synthesizers. And it was written and recorded by Wendy Carlos.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was all about doing analog synthesis, like the history behind it, how you did everything that you did with the keyboards, and how it all worked, and went all the way through like kind of the history of it and how she built the soundtracks for some of the greatest films of all time. We're talking the Stanley Kubrick stuff, for Tron, and how all of that worked, and the invention of things like the vocoder and stuff like that. It was really cool. It could only be done in audio form.
Yeah.
I had the CD, and I still have a copy of it on my computer. I've gotten rid of the CD since then, but I still have the copy of it on my computer, and I listen to it every now and then because it's super interesting. And it's really cool to hear like how this, particular how you combine waveforms to be able to create, and what an LFO is and all this other stuff. The only other audiobook I'd ever listened to, there was a on cassette audiobook of the novelization of the film A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, which is my favorite movie of all time. I had to listen to this audiobook because it was on a cassette, and I knew cassettes, like, you're not going to get 120 minutes out of it, or you're not even 130 minutes out, or 100 or an hour and 30 minutes out of a cassette. You're not going to get 90 minutes out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You basically are going to get an hour. How are they going to fit an hour and a half to a 2-hour movie? I don't remember how long that movie was. It doesn't matter. I watch it, all the time. I have no idea how long it is. But how are they going to fit that onto a tiny little cassette? And with voice acting and music, they got the voices of Lisa Wilcox and Robert Englund to come in and do voices on this cassette. I thought was really cool. None of the other actors were there because none of them had been hired yet. The only other person that they'd known about that was going to return was Danny Hassel, and they didn't get him in there, so I guess he wasn't that important. So I listened to this. They're like entire scenes were cut out of it.
Yeah.
Right, to get it to fit. And plus they were, I mean, it's just really, it was very weird and interesting how they did that audiobook. The narrator on that was bizarre. I will say that.
Wow.
And it was, but it was the only other audiobook I ever listened to. So I had no real context of where to go with this. I just winged it. I'll be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're more prepared for the next one that comes in?
Well, I have two answers to that. One, yes, I am 110% prepared for the next. If for the next audiobook, if I ever do one, I know what I'm going to do first. I know what I'm going to do second. I know my process now. I've got everything under control. I know how to handle it.
Good.
Am I ever going to do another audiobook?
The loaded question.
That remains to be seen, because that took a lot out of me. I'll be honest.
Right.
That killed me for like 4 months.
Yeah.
So if you ever lose your job and need income, yes.
I don't even know if I would go that far, because I don't want to talk too much about the payment side of things.
No. How many different ways can you say I'd rather starve?
Because that's the thing about it. The way that, and you could Google this. I'm not revealing too much about the way that Bear Publications and I, like, how we set up our contract. This is a standard audiobook contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's commission based. It's based on the sales of the audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so
okay.
I just did, all of that work for the past, several months, and I might never see a dime.
Wow.
So when you see Cindy promote this online, be sure to like and share, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, and that was my
don't
thought.
think of nobody else.
So
really,
but I mean, the moment that the announcement goes up that the book is available, you better believe I'm posting it everywhere. I'm gonna post. I'm gonna post it on my Facebook page. I'm gonna post it on Twitter. I'm gonna post it on. And I tell you what, because the concept behind the book, I will post this in every furry group I know. It's happening.
There you go.
Post it on Elon Musk's homepage, and
that's like the cons that I attend. The QuadCon. He has a page where he promotes QuadCon, and I said, well, can I share my books and what I'll be bringing? And he's like, absolutely. I wish more people would. There are so many vendors that go to these that they just don't. Like when he advertises, hey, we're going to be at such and such a place on this date at this time. It's free to get in. Why are you not putting your shit on there?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't like to promote. And I keep telling people, when you have a 9-to-5, do you like everything you do there?
Right.
But you do it anyway because you're working for somebody else. But if you're working for yourself and you get to keep most of the money, why aren't you telling people? And if you got something that you're proud of, why aren't you bragging?
Exactly.
If you bust your ass at your 9-to-5, why wouldn't you bust your ass times 2 for your own shit?
Exactly.
That's what kills me. It's like, I'm a very hard worker when I have a 9-to-5 type job.
Yeah.
You best believe I'm working even harder on my own stuff because I was doing my own stuff and the 9-to-5 stuff. So now I've freed up all that time to throw at my stuff.
Yeah. I think we have a thing about being humble, and not being proud. And so promoting your work yourself feels like, I'm bragging, I'm doing this and that, and people need to get over that if they want to be successful.
Well, as an adjunct to that, Carl, I was about to say, a lot of people that dislike doing their own promotion, they kind of look at it as if they were panhandling.
Yeah.
Panhandlers make more money than I do.
It's not that way. It's not that way, but that's how they feel. So
that's how they feel about it.
Yeah. And they're wrong.
And I've seen a lot of
that. They are, but try and convince them.
I gave up on that long ago. They had the same attitude towards crowdfunding, like it's cyber panhandling. And it's like, no, panhandling, all you get is a warm glow that you're helping somebody, hopefully. But when you are like doing crowdfunding, you are offering something in exchange for their support. And I feel that it's the same way as far as self-promotion goes.
And that's one of the reasons that, like, when it comes to there's a lot of different ways of doing that kind of funding that's out there. Right.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a creator recently who was talking about Patreon, and he was like, somebody had asked him, it was like, what do I get if I sign up for your Patreon? He was like, I continue to work on the things that I'm working on. And they were like, well, I don't get anything extra. And he's like, literally, you're signing up for my Patreon to help fund the thing that I'm already making. So no, you don't get anything extra for that. Is that people can do that if they want. They can offer that. And if somebody was like, that's panhandling, he goes, no, literally, you're funding the project that's already in progress. I'm going to make it no matter what. But if you would like to see more episodes and stuff come out at a faster pace, sign up for Patreon. He's like, if he was doing something on Kickstarter, then yes, he would be offering backer goals and stuff like that. But not on Patreon. He's just, I'm just going to come. You were supporting me or you're not. That's what it comes down to. If you don't like the stuff I do, don't give me money.
Well, that's the thing. I've got a Patreon page, and I'm very pleased with it. A lot of people are doing, to support me. God bless them. But in exchange, I write a blog twice a week that you're not going to see anywhere else. For $5 a month, they've gotten to read my next book in the first draft. And for $10, I've got some of my books in PDF that they can download, including one that's out of print. So, I can't treat it like a Kickstarter campaign in that I give you something for it.
Yeah, Amy Hale does the same thing. Yeah.
But
Depending on what
you
level you pick.
But you don't have to do that. That's just something you're doing over and above. Which, like the ones that I have supported in the past, Dark Histories. Is a great podcast by a British gentleman. I don't remember his name now, but I liked what he was doing, and I said, I want to be on your Patreon only for a couple dollars a month, but I wanted to see him keep doing it. I didn't want him to have to go get another job and quit doing all the research, because that's what got me, all the research the guy does. And so I thought, I want to support that guy's research. I want him to be able to buy another couple books on Victorian England so he can do a better show in the future, and keep that going as he's doing it. So some people will look for something. You don't have to do that, though. You
don't have to. No, I just feel better on my own end doing that. And it is a good incentive. Some people do want to see, careful, Carl. Some people want to see like the work in progress and stuff. A lot of creators do that. Otherwise, I'd probably be on OnlyFans. So.
Oh my!
Neither
the room went quiet when I said that.
Neither one of those platforms is working out for a certain creator that I know of. So I've stuck with YouTube.
I have friends that are on there. Some of them are doing well on OnlyFans because they're, lack of a more precise, this is the precise word, pandering to their audience. Whereas I'm sure no amount of pandering is going to get anyone to see me do that sort of thing either. If anything, they'll be sending me money. Could you take these off the internet? Could you don't remove your clothes, Brian. Remove these photos. We'll pay you $20 a month to keep them off. That's right.
I've often thought of opening a Patreon and go, unless you want me to publish this next book, you better give me $5 a month.
That's right. That's right.
To keep me from publishing.
This is a threat. I will inflict this on the world.
If I thought that'd work, I'd have kept my very first novel that I wrote in college. The thing was irredeemable.
Okay, guys. We are at the 1:18 mark. So we've been chatting for an hour.
It's fun, though.
It is. And we could chat all night. You want to do 24 hours?
No, because I've got to go get new dentures tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes, we all have stuff to do.
And remember, audience, you've had half the fun we've had. We've had twice as much fun as you.
Lindsay had to
That's right.
I had the appointment tomorrow that I took a vacation day off from work. And
Oh, wow.
I'm going, okay, what do I have to do?
Your honey-do list.
To their parking lot before 9 o'clock in the morning, before they open their doors, and sit there all day playing solitaire because I didn't remember to bring my Kindle home with me.
Oh, well.
Oh, no.
Hashtag real world problems.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I'll get to eat a burrito again.
Okay, so
I've been missing burritos, I tell you.
do you want to talk about where you can find your books, or do you want me to just end the show? What do you want to do?
I would never tell anyone you can find all my books, including the brand new Biff Bam Eow, on Amazon. And I wouldn't tell you that many of my books can also be found on Smashwords. I don't pander like
You're
that.
such
That's
a whore, Brian.
You got to have standards. That's www.amazon.com/author/Brian K. Morris.
Yes.
But like I said on Nevermind the Furthermore this morning, once I get the full go ahead okay from Cindy, I will be reopening commissions again. I know Michaela wants me to work on a project. John Pico wants me to work on a project. Before I can delve into all that, though, I really want to make sure that Cindy's okay with what I put out. Because otherwise, I'll have to drop everything. I have one project that I stupidly agreed to do before the end of the Animal Eyes. So that's the only other thing I have to work on right now, and it's a project for my wrestling trainer. So, but luckily luckily it's a very simple project. It's just I got to get it done. Yeah. And
I hear you.
But other than that, I'm just, like I said, I'm just waiting on hearing back from her, and I hope she's happy with everything. And if she, I'm not going to say for some reason, she has her reasons, and that's fine. If she's not satisfied, I really hope it's something I can easily fix, and we'll get the project. I can't wait for it to actually come out. If it does come out, I can't wait for people to hear it. Like I stretched my vocal abilities on this one. I really did. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
Good. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
Good.
Yeah, really. I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah.
Well, you can find us by looking up our names on lulu.com.
I should have made a banner for that.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm still learning the banner thing.
I don't always put mine up either. It's a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Brian, are you petting your?
I'm petting it. Yes.
You're
petting
rising
it.
tide.
Okay.
You're petting your rising tide. Oh, don't lick it.
First time I've ever heard that.
Oh, okay. This became OnlyFans real quick.
It is.
All week.
We can talk about OnlyFans. Okay, bye, guys.
You're the